So I get it. We all want that charming, beautiful, full cottage garden style, the kind that when you walk outside, it just feels like you're in a storybook. But there's actually a fine line between it being lush and layered and just plain chaotic. So today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite tips to help give you that dreamy cottage garden look without feeling overwhelmed and without your garden turning into a tangled mess. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amy, and over at Pretty Purple Door, I help home gardeners design landscapes that are uniquely you. I think the reason that people struggle so much with cottage-style gardens is because they look really effortless. But this is actually one of the hardest styles to accomplish, and I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, so today I want to share some tips that'll get you to stop going to the garden center and just picking one of every single plant or tossing out a bunch of wildflower seeds and hoping for the best. That's just going to create chaos. So we need just a little bit of balance between planning and structure and a little bit of that freeness that will make it really fun and exciting for you to plan this type of garden. My first tip is to get clear on your vision and really just don't wing it. The planning phase is one of the most fun and exciting phases for me, so I think this will really work for you too. Before you get out there and start throwing seeds and planting everything, go online and look up some other cottage style garden photos. I use Pinterest for this or a website called House, but you can just go in there and start pinning things and saving things that really match the vibe and the look that you're going for. But don't just stop there. You want to start to find patterns. Are there arbors? Are there archways that you're seeing in multiple photos? Is there a water feature that you're pinning multiple times? What kind of paths are you attracted to? Things like that that will really bring that cottage style garden to life for you and make it unique to you is a really good idea. I love going on Pinterest and just getting ideas for new spaces. So this is a really fun project and it doesn't have to take long at all. When you're clear on what feel and style of garden you're going for, it really prevents you from falling into the trap of the onesie twosies, as I like to call it, when you go to the garden center and you're just picking one of this plant, one of this plant, one of this plant, one of this plant, and then you get home and you have no idea how to put that together. When you do this, you're not randomly adding to your garden, you're gardening with intention and you're actually designing. My next tip is to plan your entire space in the beginning, but work in phases. So this is something I see happen to home gardeners all the time. And I fell into this trap too when I bought my first house and I didn't know much about landscape design. So planning the entire space can also be a really fun project, and it doesn't have to be something crazy. You don't have to be an artist to figure this out. What I like to do is just get a piece of paper and draw out the space and sketch different ideas. Do I want a patio? Do I want an open lawn space? Do I want an arbor and a walkway? What types of things do you want in your space? And just sort of a rough sketch. On the screen, I'm going to put a picture of what I did when I first started working on my backyard design, just blocking out different areas of the property and getting a feel for how you want the flow to be. Do you want walkways? Do you want arbors? Do you want open lawn spaces? Do you need a patio? Where are you going to cook and grill outside? Things like that, just so you have an idea of where these elements will go. My Plant Perfect activity book walks you through this entire process. If you need more help with that, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. The key here is to create that master plan, but only focus on one small area in the beginning. When you're new to gardening, it's really, really common to take on too much. And sometimes you don't realize how much work putting in one small garden bed is going to be. That's why inside of my course, we all focus on a really small area that's about 20 feet wide by 6 or 7 feet deep so that we're all on the same page. So what I'd recommend is after you have that plan, to focus on the areas that are closest to your home or closest to where you're going to be hanging out. When I did this in my backyard, I actually created a circular brick patio in my backyard, and it was way in the back corner. So it was just sort of floating out there for the first year. I just did the patio. And then after that, I started to build the walkway that connects the patio to my back porch. And I worked in phases because I was working full time and I didn't have a lot of time to work on these types of projects. So don't overwhelm yourself. Just choose one project from that list, or like I said, start closest to where you're going to be hanging out the most, like a foundation planting or right around where your back porch already exists, and work on that one area. This is going to let you kind of experiment, see what you like, see what you don't like for the first year. And it's also going to give you the ability to use what you already have in place to build out those other areas. A lot of plants you might find don't really work in that position, so maybe you can move them to another area of your yard next year. Other plants may work super well and you want to divide them and move them to other areas of your garden. By starting small, you're going to give yourself a lot of different options for the future season. It's going to be less chaotic, and it's also going to be more cost effective to do that and to spread your plants around. That also helps a lot with flow, which is a design principle. My next tip is to use structure as your secret weapon. I think a lot of us fall into the trap that cottage gardens are just masses of flowers and fully packed and all of that great stuff. But this style of garden actually requires hard lines and shapes to contrast all of that overwhelming chaos that can ensue. So that's one of the big mistakes that I see, is just lots and lots of plants but no structural elements. So you want to think about adding fences, adding arbors, adding trellises. What types of paths, what types of materials are you going to use to contrast all of those soft shapes? What hard edges can you create? And also thinking about shrubs. Those shrubs add a structure and a very distinct plant form that's going to help balance out your garden and not make it feel like it's all just blending and blurring together. I like to say that adding structure gives the eye a place to rest. When everything is so billowing and free-flowing, this is going to make your space stand out and feel a lot less chaotic. My next tip is to keep your plant list short and sweet. Too many plants equals visual chaos. Repetition and simplicity is what keeps your garden looking harmonious, which is another design principle, harmony. As tempting as it is to choose lots and lots of different plants and just plunk them into place, that's really not the best thing to do if you don't want overwhelming chaos. So here's what I would recommend for a beginner. First, don't try to include everything. You're going to focus on a few core plants. As far as annuals go, I think they're a really great option, especially if your garden is brand new, because they're going to give you long-lasting color and interest for the first full season without you having to really make any hard and fast decisions about what you like and really committing to anything. So instead of just grabbing packs of wildflower mixes where you're going to toss everything and it's just going to be a jumbled mess, I'd recommend choosing 2 annual plants that you can grow from seed and just scatter in the garden. I like zinnias and cosmos. They grow from seed very quickly. They don't need a lot of care, and I like to choose just one color of each. You can get packs of different colors of them if that's what you like, but just choosing 2 in the beginning and seeing how they perform and seeing if you like them before making any permanent decisions with perennials that come back year after year, I think it's a great option, and it will really give you that cottagey look that you're going for really, really quickly. Next, I choose a flowering shrub or 2 for structure. You can go in so many directions with this: roses, hydrangeas, lilacs, things like that. Larger shrubs that will add that structure that we talked about in the last tip, but also give you a little bit of flowering and a little bit of interest and a little bit of fragrance and bring the pollinators into your garden. So try to incorporate some shrubs into your garden plan. And also don't forget about winter interest. I talk about this all the time in my Design Your 4-Season Garden course and many of the videos on this channel, but I love evergreens because they create structure. So when you're thinking of choosing 1 or 2 evergreens to incorporate, make sure that you're spacing them out as if nothing else is in your garden anywhere, because this is what it's going to look like in the winter. So you want them to be spaced out or at least strategically placed so that they look great in the winter when nothing else is blooming. And there are some varieties of evergreens that also flower, something like PJM rhododendron, for example. So you can include shrubs that are deciduous and shrubs that are evergreen, and they can both flower if you'd like. And this is going to, number 1, make it feel less chaotic because it's adding that structure. And number 2, it's going to keep it a little bit less maintenance, because those annuals and the flowering perennials, they require a bit more maintenance than larger shrubs will. So this is going to set you up for success in the future. If you're enjoying this video about cottage gardens, you're going to love my free training about why traditional style cottage gardens don't work for homeowners and what actually does. In that video, I go over tons more tips, tricks, and ideas to get you on the path to success when you want to plan a cottage garden at home. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below so you can check it out. It's a brand new free training, and I had so much great feedback when I ran this live, so I think you're really going to love it. My next tip is probably no surprise to those who have followed me for a while, and it's to focus your color palette. I'd recommend, if you're brand new to this and you don't want the overwhelm, to really narrow down your color palette. Again, you can go back to that idea phase where you were pinning and see what colors are really popping up for you again and again. I would do no more than 3 colors in your first garden bed just to keep it simple. So you'll have a main color or 2 main colors and then an accent color. And just keep it to that. Keep it really simple at first. It's going to really focus your design and allow you to choose actually more plants in the future because they're all going to be united by that same color scheme. As a bonus, this also really helps with shopping because it really narrows down a lot of your choices so that you don't go crazy in the garden center just picking tons of different colored plants. So just focus on 3 colors at first. You could always add to that later as you get more comfortable. But in the beginning, this is really what's going to tie everything together for you and make it feel really cohesive and harmonious and less chaotic, is choosing a color palette and really sticking to that. It's going to make it feel really intentional and designed, even if you're just kind of throwing plants in at first to see what sticks. My last tip is to repeat plants across your space. Plant division and repetition of the same plants across different areas of your landscape is your secret weapon. It is your best friend. As much as it can feel like it might be boring when you do this, it really does help tie everything together and eliminate a lot of that chaos. So instead of planting something brand new in every corner and having every single garden bed have different plant selections and different features in all of them, try tying them together by repeating some of those plants. When we talked earlier about designing in phases and starting with one small bed in the beginning, this is where that really comes into play, because the next season you can take some of those plants that worked and you can put them in other garden beds. You can also divide a lot of those every 2 or 3 years. Perennials are really good for dividing, so that's why I like to work in phases, especially on my own home property, so I don't get overwhelmed, and so I can take the plants from one garden bed, move them to the next garden bed, and create that repetition and that flow that will really make it feel less overwhelming and less chaotic. Repetition creates what's called rhythm in the garden, and this lets your eye bounce from location to location as you're picking out something that's repeated throughout, whether that's the same color, like we talked about color palettes, or it's even the same plant like we're talking about now. So those are 2 ways to make everything feel like it's intentional and you designed it and it doesn't get out of hand for you. So just remember, a little planning, a little structure, a simplified plant list, and starting small is all you need to create that gorgeous storybook style cottage garden that doesn't feel overwhelming and chaotic. If you want to take the next step and you want some more ideas for creating that lush cottage style garden at home, I have a complete video that goes over this style, what types of hardscaping to use, what types of plants to use, all different stuff. And I'm going to leave a link to that video right here. And I'll see you over in the next one.